And you should invest in a green screen. Mm-hmm. What?
What is up, guys? You have made it to episode 19 of the Canceled Misfits show. We're so glad to have you here today. Of course, I'm here with Marcus. He'll be joining us in just a moment. Also, we have big news coming. We're doing big things over here. We're about to branch out to some other videos. To episode 19. I am, you know, I don't have enough humility to not have me going on behind, so that's fine. But you know what? It's going to be great. We have some great videos, and let's just go ahead and dive right on into the show. So, like I said, I'm here with Marcus. Here he is right here. Marcus, how have you been this week? Hold on. There you go. People
What's up,
can hear you
guys? Just
now.
been working. I just been working in this cold, rainy weather. Don't like this stuff.
No, it's whether it's me on ladders or you out in the field, just working in the rain. It's just not fun.
No, and to pair it with the cold.
Yeah, the cold especially. I don't know. You know, I actually prefer the cold more than not. In all honesty, I'd rather be cold like
Not
this
when it's
than
raining.
you know. Well, even with it raining, I'd rather be a cold like this than in the summer just sweating. So as you can see,
Yeah.
down below that way, that down there. Hold on, right here is all the social media. Go follow, give it a like this video, and subscribe. Maybe comment on the live chat and on the actual video. I have it pulled up here. If you have questions, go ahead and go ahead and ask them. And both me and Marcus would love to answer them for you throughout the show. So also hit the little bell on YouTube, because that will tell you when our new videos are coming out, and we do have some new content planned for you coming out. So what do you say we get right into the show, Marcus?
Hey, we're doing it. Let's go.
All right. As always, we start off with something that just makes us mad, right? It just it really gets to us, and this is no different. So, trans college swimmer, whose new name, quote unquote, is Leah Thomas. I don't want to say this. I'll just let it go. Let's junk hang out in locker room. Female teammates say, and coach won't do anything about it. So if you watched the show last week, you might recall me saying that every time I do a trans segment, I'm always surprised the next week by what I see in the headlines again. Thankfully, this isn't quite as bad as last week, but it's still far from good or decent, right, morally acceptable, etc. So just this headline gives us so many threads to pull on. And let's just start from the top. So this has been a pretty ongoing story the past few months. So I'll give a brief recap. So this dude, and he is a dude, his name was and is Will Thomas. Will competed on UPenn's male team and then decided to transition to female, taking the name Leah. And that is the last time I will call him that for tonight, because I'm not playing their stupid game. He then goes on to smash women's records all season. I saw somewhere he fell from like the 428th place male swimmer in college to like the first place female swimmer, which is just, it's nuts to jump 428 spots or something like that. Because you are a male just to compete with females. It's happens. You hear about it every once in a while out there. But it still kind of pops out at you when you really hear those statistics. Let's see. So he then goes on to smash women's records during the season, in some cases finishing 40 seconds and a full lap ahead in some of these races, which is completely ridiculous. To round it out, some of his teammates have called it not fair, but they can't say too much for fear of losing their scholarship, because the cause is more important than any of the women on the team. And the left hates women, or, at least they would if they could identify what a woman is. So instead, they just hate anybody who is not them. Am I right, Marcus? I just caught you drinking.
You did. But yeah, you're right. And you can see many cases of this. You can look at many transgender men who have been mediocre or average athletes at the professional level, that is. I mean, there are leaps and bounds for the me and you. But, you see people that are just average or mediocre or below average, and they'll just transition to a female and play the female sport, and they'll knock it out of the water, set world records, and it's just embarrassing. This shouldn't be done.
It really is. It's embarrassing that we let this go on, because we're letting them kill the women's sports. And I mean, as much as women's sports are not nearly as interesting to watch as men's sports, it's still an important place for females to go out and compete. And, they have co-ed leagues if you want to do that, but they also have all female leagues, because you know what? Females should be competing amongst themselves for it. But that goes out the door with this ideology. What's up?
At this point, for too long with all the transgender stuff going on, we may as well just go ahead and just combine male and female sports, because it's not far from being that way on the female side anyways. So why not just combine it anyways?
So, I think that's giving in. I think that's something we cannot do. That would be a terrible idea. I did have a question pop up. I'm not going to say the name because it's kind of no, it's not embarrassing. It's my mother. She loves watching this and supports me and both of us quite a bit. She asked, what about they made a trans circuit? Do you think that would stop this issue? And the answer is no. It would not stop this issue, because it's not about having a fair place to compete amongst males and females and then have something else for transgender. No, that would be, one, too easy to solve the problem, but two, that would not solve the problem they want to solve. That would be solving the right problem, and as we know, the left doesn't like to solve the right problem. So what that would do, what they're trying to do with this is they are trying to destroy any type of gender identity, especially among mothers. We talked about it a little bit in the past couple of weeks, because mothers and women are so important to raising children, and that's who they're really going after. Once you destroy women's identity, you can destroy children's identity. It's a lot easier. And, once you do that, you have control of them. No, having a trans circuit would not fix the issue. As far as the men's sports getting easier, no, because it's not the top ranked man who's flipping over and competing against females. It's the 428th ranked man. So just a little bit of a side there. Do you think I'm right on that, Marcus? Or
I think that having an all trans circuit would work as far as feasibility wise and competition wise, but as far as it actually flying for sports and for the media, no, it wouldn't fly. Like you said, it would accomplish the right goal, but it would not accomplish the left's goal of what they're trying to push. So theoretically, it could work,
but they would never let it work.
Go. But no, it wouldn't be right.
Yeah. So little rabbit hole there, but I think a very useful one. Where was I? So that brings us to the two hooks of this headline. One is the dude letting his junk hang out in female changing rooms, and the coach won't do anything. So first of all, this completely vindicates all the things conservatives have been saying for years, literally years, since this thing started in, Target, like 8 years ago? That letting men into women's restrooms, women's changing rooms, women's private areas will lead to sexual misconduct. And that is what this is. This is sexual harassment, or at least it would be if it was any other penised individual. Can you imagine if a man who actually called himself a man did this? From the article. So transgender UPenn swimmer Will Thomas apparently still has all of his plumbing and lets it hang freely in the locker room in front of his female teammates, whom he changes with and whom he is still attracted to. That's very important. Sharing a locker room with transgender swimmer Will Thomas has become a point of contention for some of the University of Pennsylvania's teammates who feel uncomfortable changing in the private space with someone undergoing gender transition, the Daily Mail can reveal. It's definitely awkward because Will still has his male body parts and is still attracted to women. They just destroy their own case real quickly right here by using his made-up new name and gender. They completely destroy their case, by the way. Will has told his teammates, that she dates women. He dates women. The left's double standard on this would be hilarious if it wasn't such a horrendous hate crime against the women of this team. So you have a dude with dude genitalia who dates women, changing with women, and lets his dude genitalia hang out, making all of the women uncomfortable so that he doesn't have to feel bad. We'll stop right here. What's your take on this, Marcus? Am I going too crazy with this, or am I somewhat on, or what's up?
This is a pervert's dream, what he's in. Being able to let his junk hang out with all the ladies, watching them change. And really, this is just the case of you got to wonder if this is just the case of he's playing the role to see what he's seeing. Because if he's saying he's still dating girls, and he could just be saying he's a girl just to be in there in the girls' locker room and to have better chances at the sport. So it's just one of those things that he could be playing. It's a dangerous territory because that's a perverse dream right there.
Oh, 100%.
To be in the locker room. And the bad part is he's doing it and being supported for it. So that's even whenever you see, imagine perverts that even if this guy is, being for real as far as his mental illness with his transgender, even if he's being for real about that, it opens the door for other perverts to just fake it. And now that's in the big news like this makes it even worse.
Again, what we've been saying about this since all of this started really taking off less than a decade ago, is that this would very well happen, and women are being sexually harassed because of this in a real way. So.
Well, the other part to it is the school doesn't want them to speak out, and they're scared that the school
Oh no,
is going.
we're definitely going to get to that.
That's the part I hate even more, because if it was a guy just peeping in, oh, it would be an outroar. So you got to wonder how many of these stories are happening that we never hear about.
And it's sad because you can't. It's sad because people are too scared to do about it. Or like I said, we're going to get to that. I don't let the coach out in this situation by any means, but I mean, quick sneak peek of what's to come. He's probably scared for his job. So I guess this is not bad as last week's story about the adolescent girl that's going to have to share a juvie cell with a 26-year-old man. But it's still a pretty terrible. Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad. That's a terrible situation. And then there's the other side of this. The coach not putting a stop to it. And I have to say, I really do. I have to say, I feel a little bit bad for the coach. How?
Sure.
Well, it's only a little. Let me just say that. It's very little. But I'm sure he has a family to take care of. And if he were to speak out about this to try to stop it in any way, the left would absolutely destroy him with how big this case is. With how big this media case is and how high profile it is. They would destroy him. They would kill his career. They would kill his chances of ever coaching again. He'd be doxxed online, and he'd just be an absolute ruin. His life destroyed. So on a human compassionate level, I can feel that just a little bit of pity for him. It's not fair that the left plays like this, and that there isn't really too much recourse for anyone who is not on the left. Am I right, Marcus, or should we have no pity on him?
No, I feel bad for him, because I can't say that if I was in his same boat that I could do much different if that was what I relied for my family to support my family on. He's in a really tough predicament, because even if he believes that being a transgender is wrong, or even if he believes that shouldn't happen, the school could be forced him to do it. So I mean, it's one of those things that it's a lose-lose situation, but it's with the way the left has cancel culture, it's better off to just kind of try to just play however, just see how it plays out, and try to just be as middle as possible.
It's definitely better for him, but at the same time, and here's the thing, at the same time, this coach, like everyone else, is going to have to give an account to God on what he did. And on a more here and now level, Will Thomas is going to slip. That's just the thing. He's going to slip. He's going to do something that even he can be accused of for sexual harassment or assault. And then he's going to have to answer this coach is going to have to answer for the fact that he didn't do anything. I mean, they know in Pennsylvania what happens when a coach ignores sexual misconduct. I mean, who was it? Joe Paterno at Penn State? Yeah. So in Pennsylvania, they know what's up. And he will have to answer for why he didn't, do something. So he really is in a lose-lose situation. However, if you're going to lose, at least lose the right way. And it's not just the coach. The girls on the team are going to have to do something. They may have to say that we aren't going to compete until he's out of the locker room. Their parents, and this actually somewhat looks likely, are going to have to bring forward civil suits. This whole mess is going to get a lot worse for everyone involved before it gets better. And the person it should be worse for is Will Thomas. So, hashtag say his name, make him hear it. Anything? Because I'm about to have the last words on this.
Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate situation for everybody in that, as far as the female, the real female in the locker room, for the coach, because the, it's bad because this player had to go out anonymously to make this story
Mm-hmm.
because they felt like their career could be jeopardized because of this. So it's sad whenever somebody has to come out anonymously over this due to the fact that their career could be in ruins
Destroyed in
because of this.
ruins.
So that speaks volume to the situation. And I hate it for them because they're scared. You can tell they're scared to speak up, all of them. So I hate it. Hate it.
I got you. So I'm gonna actually let the girls on the team have the last words on this. What they said to the Daily Mail. So she stated that the team members have raised their concerns with the coach, trying to get Thomas ousted from the female locker room, but got nowhere. Multiple swimmers have raised it, multiple different times, the UPenn swimmer said. But we're basically told that we could not ostracize Will by not having him in the locker room. It's really hard to read this correctly, right? And that there's nothing we can do about it, and that we basically have to roll over and accept it, or we cannot use our own locker room. Think about that. Think about that. They have to roll over and accept a male in their presence, or they cannot use their own locker. What kind of backwoods world are we living in, Marcus? When a
Not what I wanna
biological
be.
male can run the females out of the female changing room.
It's messed up, really. I mean, 10 years ago, if this was even, you wouldn't even think it could have got this bad. And it's a disgrace that we've got to this point as a country, as Christians. It's a disgrace that we're still sitting down on this note.
Mm-hmm.
We need to speak out more, and
Well,
it's a shame.
exactly. Real quickly, finishing up with what they have to say, it's really upsetting because Will doesn't seem to care how it makes anyone else feel, and that makes me think he's going to screw up at some point, and I hope he does in a way that doesn't severely hurt somebody, and also they can, nail him for it. The 35 of us are just supposed to accept being uncomfortable in our own space and locker room for, like, the feelings of one. And she's right. 100% she's right. Actually, I was kidding when I said the female was going to have the last word here. I get the last word. The left hates women who are normal. They hate me. They hate you. They hate the women on this team. And we must resist them loudly. If we call ourselves the silent majority, we need to knock that silent off. We do, or we're going to lose. Because as we found out last week with the woman who took an abortion pill on live TV, they care more about this than we do. They care about winning more than we do. And we've read the end of the book. We've read the end of the Bible. We know how this ends, so let's act like it. And on that note, because that was a completely unplanned but perfect segue into our next segment. I'll admit I've been pretty hard on the church the last couple of weeks, and I stand by what I've said. In fact, me and Marcus were talking. You had a revival at your church where the speaker pretty much came and said that the church needs to be more active and stand up, right?
Oh yeah, and talked about how the church is at fault for where we are, and in order for any change to be made, the church has got to stand up. And the church is at fault for just bowing down. And when I heard it, I couldn't help but smile because that was the exact point we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was awesome.
Well, we're about to talk about it again because we have to stand by what we say. And it's because that when churches grow more and more comfortable, like most any group, they get more and more progressive. And then you get headlines like this. So before I start, Marcus, you go to what's the denomination? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It's technically Assembly of God.
Okay,
but,
so Pentecostal.
It falls under Pentecostal, yeah.
And I've grown up in the Southern Baptist Church. My dad's a Southern Baptist minister. So, don't think that this is some sort of petty squabble between, Protestants or within Protestants, because I think we're all Protestant under that. Okay, get ready for this. Big name Southern Baptist Church brags about transgender, LGBT, straight, single, married, divorced, and cohabitating people serving in their church. I'm shocked the Southern Baptist Church is allowing this to be said from its pulpit, as someone who has grown up in it. And I'm just going to play the whole video. So, let me see. Which one is it? I recently redid my hotkeys. There it is. Here we go. Oh, now is when you choose to buffer? Seriously?
We have longtime members of 50 plus years greeting and welcoming new people who are walking in for the very first time. We have those who love traditional music and hymns, and those who know only contemporary music. We have choir lovers and non-music lovers, a pipe organ, and loud electric guitars. We have the 99-year-old World War II hero and the millennial immigrant who doesn't know anything about American history sitting on the same row and listening and learning about Jesus together. We have transgender, LGBTQ, straight, single, married, divorced, and cohabitating people. These same people attend, listen, serve, grow, and give.
We have transgender, LGBTQ, straight, single, married, divorced, and cohabitating people. These same people attend, listen, serve, grow, and give.
We have Democrats, Republicans, independents, and non-registered people. We have documented and undocumented people. We have politically active and socially responsible people. We have pro-life and pro-choice and pro-war and pro-peace. We have Support the Blue and Black Lives Matter, sitting together and serving together. We have Trumpers and never Trumpers. We have Biden supporters and Harris supporters. We have the ultra-wealthy and the indigent sitting together, singing together, and serving together. We have the social elite and the social outcast. We have the best dressed and the barely dressed. And in the midst of all of this, we have one of the most beautiful worship experiences you can possibly imagine. Because all of us gather around the good news of Jesus and the one who is changing us and the one who unifies us. And we celebrate how he has set us all free from our bondage to sin and given us eternal life. Jose, we are First Orlando. We have longtime members of...
Okay, so, there you go. You're back, Marcus. So that was First Baptist Church, Orlando. And this isn't some fringe church in the Southern Baptist Convention. See, they were set to host the Southern Baptist Convention back in 2020. They couldn't because of COVID. But their senior pastor was going to be the chairman of was the chairman of the 2020 Southern Baptist Convention. This was his senior associate pastor saying this from the pulpit, I assume on a Sunday morning. So let's take a second to process this, and we'll get to the shocking stuff in a second. But I wanted to ask you about this too, Marcus. We're going to end this debate once and for all. Hymns or contemporary music? As someone who loves the old hymns, I still have to say that unless you're an old country church where there really aren't any young families around and it's just the older generations who are going to stay there until they die, then you need to have a solid contemporary worship service. And the reason I say that, it's mathematics based. Most people who are saved get saved before the age of 18, something like 85%. Contemporary music is going to draw this crowd in much more than hymns do. Therefore, most of your resources and time should be put into kids and youth, including in the music, because sharing the gospel with the most amount of people and therefore letting them have the opportunity to accept Christ is the most important function of the church. Marcus, do you agree with me or no?
I do agree. Now, I do love some old hymns.
I do too.
There's some I love. So I love whenever we throw in, I'll fly away or into
You can
our
have fun with
worship
those songs,
service.
though.
Yes, you do. But the fact of the matter is, people don't like the same old thing. So you can't sit there and sing hymn after hymn after hymn. And even if you do some contemporary music, you've got to stay up to date on the contemporary music because people like new stuff.
Hmm.
They like to experience, new points of view on the Bible because the Bible is, it's very factual, but at the same time, it's very subjective. So they like to see new points of views on
I'm
what
a
it can
little
mean. They
worried
like
with
to
you
hear new
saying that.
music.
I'm a little worried with you saying that because the gospel message doesn't change. That's why I like to say is that the gospel message doesn't change. The only thing that should change is how you engage the culture, because that does change. But the core message should never change.
Well, that's what I'm saying about like the Bible is factual. The core message is factual. There's no way around it. But stuff like the Revelation, some of that stuff, as far as how you see how some of that's going to end up, some of that's subjective. There's going to be different scenarios where you may read a Bible verse one day where you're angry, and you read it and you interpret it one way, but you may read it another day when you're happy, and read it and it may mean a whole different thing to you. So I mean, that's what I mean by it being subjective. On that note, not that you can just take it and twist it however you want to.
All right, good. I
But
was hoping we were on the same page on that. I was about to be a little worried.
well, I hate to say it, but things in the world change, and
Yeah,
the Bible talks about it has some stuff that you wouldn't do in today's society. I mean, you wouldn't give your child away because you can't pay a debt. So I mean, we wouldn't do that in today's society. Stuff
fair
changes,
enough.
but the core principle stays the same.
All right, I'm glad we're on the same page. Now to the more important things. As if there's anything more important than knowing that the core gospel doesn't change. But to the more important things of this video. First off, the trans ideology. Let's start there because we talk about it so much. I feel like I can talk for hours on this subject off the top of my head. But this trans ideology, which he proudly proclaims as being there and even serving in the church, is diametrically opposed to correct Christian doctrine. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not want you to misunderstand what I am saying here. Church is a place for sinners. And we want sinners in the pew because that's all of us. Trans people are no different. They are not beyond God's grace. And we want them to hear about God's grace, and we want them to hear the gospel. That being said, proudly proclaiming that they serve in your church is incompatible with who a church should officially represent them as far as their staff goes and their outreach goes. And this is for 3 reasons. 1, it's an attack on truth. Plain and simple, boys are boys, girls are girls, men are men, women are women, there's no switching. That leads directly to the second point, which is that God is truth. Jesus says, I'm the truth, the way, the truth, and the life, right? And if we truly believe that if God made us, male and female, he created us, and if he knew us before we were born and knitted us together in the womb, then if he accidentally put a man's soul into a woman's body, or vice versa, not just once, but in hundreds of thousands of people, because that seems to be the way that this world is trending, then that would be saying he's not omnipotent or omniscient, all-powerful and all-knowing, the objective truth. No, see, at that point, he would be a bumbling idiot at best. And at worst, an evil, malicious deity. See, this ideology is, like I said, completely and irrevocably opposed to the God we serve. And last, it destroys the idea of Christian womanhood and womanhood in general, as we talk about quite often. We started the show with a whole segment about that. It makes me laugh, but it also burns me every time they try to make out that we hate women. And this is not exhaustive list of why they shouldn't be allowed to serve. I'm sure Marcus will come up with another example pretty easily because there's just so many. But that doesn't mean it's not it doesn't make a 100% case why they shouldn't, regardless of the fact that there's more cases. Am I right, Marcus?
Well, I think on this whole video, I think, it depends on the definition of the way they say they have transgender serving. Because really the church needs to be more outgoing. The people that's in the church, usually 85% of those, 85% of those are the saved, And if you're worried about them and catering to them, you're doing it the wrong way, because if you're having to cater to them,
100%.
You're doing something wrong, because they're not as strong a Christian as you think they are. So, you've got to bring people in. So, if they're using the transgenders for an outreach to bring more in, and that's what they define as serving, then that's great, because you need to bring them in. They've got to learn, So now, if you talk about them serving as a Sunday school teacher, retaining the views of the Bible or the church, that's a whole different subject. But the video was so vague that if it's talking about they're serving as an outreach, and that's huge. Then I mean, that can be huge for the church, because that's what we need. We need to outreach these transgenders. We need an outreach to the gays. We need to reach the lost, and you can't do that by sitting in the pew and not reaching the people that need to be reached.
I get what you're saying, and like I said, there should definitely, we want sinners in the pews, and I think I say that like 18 more times throughout the rest of this segment in my script. But again, it's a lot different having them outreaching and sitting in the pews and learning to actively being an official representation of church and church staff, of Sunday school teachers, even nursery workers. I know I wouldn't want my nursery worker at church to be a transgender who brags about it, because again, if it's diametrically opposed to God's word, which it is, as we just went over, and you're still proudly proclaiming it, not who I want watching my kid, when I have one, in the nursery.
Well, that's why I said what I said about serving, as far as serving for outreach. That's really about the only thing that I see that transgenders they're still transgenders, but going to church. That's the only type of serving they should really be doing, is more of an outreach program. But as far as tainting the Bible and the church views, I agree that shouldn't happen. So, but I do think it's something good for them to reach out to more people like them and bring them in.
All right. Well, that's definitely something each church is going to have to prayerfully consider, for sure. I
mean, you've got to bring them in somehow.
You do have to bring them in somehow, but I would say that
unfortunately, it's a lot easier for the transgenders to bring in more transgenders than it is to have.
So here's a question. Here's a real quick question. Do you think if someone who was transgendered and then got saved, one, do you think they would still be calling themselves, or do you think they still should, if it's a man and before he got saved he was a woman, or he believed he was a woman, called himself a woman, whatever? Do you think that that he could still do that while still being saved?
I think
since it is so diametrically opposed.
Whenever you become saved and you repent of those sins, the Bible says to not just ask for forgiveness, but to turn away from it and stop doing it. So I think, as far as being a true Christian, you can't be a true Christian and be transgender or gay. But it's one of those. It's a rough path to go on, because you need to reach these people, like I said, and it may hurt the church for a while. You know, it may taint some of the I'm trying to think, the congregation may taint some of it, but unfortunately, the congregation is not meant to be perfect, and I'll stand by that 100%. It's never supposed to be perfect, and I think that you need to reach them, whether you like the way you reach them or not. I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to do stuff you don't like to get stuff done. But if this is the way to get them in, this is the way to change them, then I think it could be a plausible way to get them into church. And even if they're not Christian while they're outreaching and getting them to church, getting them there is the first step. Getting them there and getting them to listen is the first step, whether who's getting them there saved or not. So I hate that you're using somebody who's opposed to your views, but if they're able to bring more in and you can save more lives and teach more about Jesus, then absolutely. But you can't let it taint the church's view and the church's stance. That's the only thing. You have to be whole with what you're teaching. You have to believe and be steady in what you're teaching and what you're preaching. You can't let it affect that. But in order for reaching the lost, it's a great way to do it, because that's going to be the best way to get them in there, is their own kind.
Well, we're definitely going to have to revisit this in a future episode, because we do have a lot more through this segment and a couple more to get to. But I think I get your point right there.
A lot of people may look at it differently than I do.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a rich discussion we should have for sure.
It is.
All right.
It is.
Okay. Let's see. Then, of course, moving on with the story. Then, of course, he hits the LGBTQ, whatever the letters are now. I research this every week, and I cannot keep up. But in several places in God's Word, he speaks out about this. I think this one is talked to death, and there really isn't much more I can add to the conversation. But to proudly say that these people are serving again, are serving, it's an abomination. Again, they should be in church. Church is a place for sinners, but leadership is not the place. And then there are a few more. Some of them I really couldn't care about, some of them. But this one really burns me. He proudly proclaims that he has pro-choice people. The church should never be happy about abortions, because it's killing kids. It's like number 6 on the 10 Commandments of things you should not do. So if anybody in your church who's in a leadership position, Sunday school, nursery, pastors, I hope not, believe that it's okay for women to have the choice to kill their kids, how about you sit them back down in the pew and tell them to listen a little bit better this time, because that is certainly what they need in their life right now, is to be sat down in church, and for them to actually listen some. But this video is so despicable, because after proudly proclaiming that all of the people who we want in church pews but not serving in the church are actually serving in the church, he proudly proclaims that they are free from the bondage of sin. Living your life believing you're a woman, even though you're a biological male, is not free from the bondage of sin. It is, in fact, the very opposite, where the bondage of sin is pulling you down into the darkest depths where you can't even see that it is wrong. Killing your baby is not freedom from the bondage of sin. It's murder. Again, number 6 on the 10 Commandments. If you really care about these people, you won't tell them honeyed words that are sweet on their ears. You tell them the truth. Hope they accept it, but it's on them. And shame on any church that lets this persist, including First Baptist Orlando. See, the American church is dying. When a church like this, one that was going to host the Southern Baptist Convention just 2 years ago, starts going woke like this, we are in serious trouble. This is going to take a lot of prayer, as well as people who are courageous enough to speak the truth to power to rise up in our churches. And this is going to offend some people. You have to know that, but true Christianity often does. But if we don't, the American church isn't just going to not be a check against our cultural decline, it'll actually feed into it. So every single one of us is going to have to answer for our actions to God. And we are all going to have things that we are ashamed of. I know there's going to be things that I am. But don't let one of those things be you sat by and let lies propagate unchecked in your church, even if they came from the pulpit. And don't think for a second that it shouldn't go unchecked if it came from the pulpit. Marcus, any last words?
When I watched this video, I didn't know if it was honestly hard for me to tell if this pastor was bragging about the fact that they had these people and supporting. It was hard to tell if he was like saying, "Hey, we support you," or just showing, "Hey, look, we have everybody here. There's somebody like you. There's no shame in coming here because we have everybody." But I don't know what he was trying to accomplish with it. But I do know that letting the pro-choice and the transgenders serve as a active leader in the church is completely wrong. But saying, "Hey, look, we change everybody's lives, whether you're transgender, gay, pro-choice. God could change your life if they're using it in that manner. That's fine. I wish I had more context to this statement in this church, because there's some stuff I want to elaborate on as far as we need this in our church as far as having the lost, but we don't need it to corrupt the church either. So I wish I had more background information on this church and on this statement here, because there can be good stuff about this statement, but that same token, it can be very, very bad. So it's a double-edged sword as to what it can be. I just wish I had more context to it.
I get you. Unfortunately, we don't have that.
No.
And again, like I said before, this is definitely a conversation that, we should definitely come back and plan around in a future episode. So, all right, enough of this bad stuff for tonight. Let's get on to a story that should be a little bit more heartwarming. So I've talked quite a bit about how poorly children have been treated in schools through this pandemic. And many kids are very much done with it. I present to you a blueprint on how to respectfully, honestly more respectfully than many of these administrators deserve when they, put elementary school kids out there to eat lunch outside in, 23-degree weather. This is a lot more respect than they probably deserve, but respectfully but firmly resist their incredibly stupid COVID rules. Side note, I hope to one day be half as respectable and charismatic as this kid is. So, Marcus, we will see you back in just a second. Here we go.
Hey! Everybody shut up! Pay attention. This is not an excuse for any of you freshmen and sophomores to disrespect your teachers. If I hear of anybody disrespecting teachers or staff tomorrow, that makes us look bad. We want this to be a peaceful, respectful movement. We are just trying to gain back our rights as citizens. We do not care about the teachers. In the end, are just doing their jobs. It doesn't come from them. It comes from the state. Now, what we're hoping is that they kick us out. This sounds bad, but we're hoping that they kick us out, because they have to report that attendance to the state. And if the state sees a day where 100, or I don't even know how many kids are here, are absent, they're going to start asking questions. Our hope is we can get this statewide. Now, I might get in trouble for this, but the plan still stands for Wednesday. For tomorrow, I mean. Everybody is going to meet at the back row of the senior parking lot, and we're all walking into the school with no mask on. You can get me in trouble. They can suspend me. I don't care. We're done with this. And obviously all of you are too.
Shut up. Shut up.
Obviously, all you are done with the mask too. Now, again, we're doing this peacefully and respectfully. If a staff member asks you to put a mask on, you say no, thank you, and keep walking. And if they kick you out, then go home. And if people need rides home, then some of the seniors, I'm sure we can start giving people rides home. That's about it.
So, obviously, Marcus, you watched that one before the show, right?
Somehow I missed that one. Actually, I thought I watched all the videos, but I managed to skip.
Yeah, there was
I
two in
looked
that
back at
one.
messages, and I saw it, and I guess I clicked on that link, and I only watched one of the two videos.
That's okay. Well, obviously, he's very passionate about this. But he's also very dangerous because he's actually smart. See, he seems to have the ability to look past first order consequences and think 3 or 4 steps ahead. He knows exactly where to apply pressure, and he knows to do it respectfully. Because no one's going to listen to a bunch of teenagers if they just rage, right? Exactly what they wanted to have happened. They sent them all home. Now it's time for the parents to hold everyone all the way from the school board up to the state governor and legislator. This is in Washington, to hold everyone from the school board to the governor and the legislator accountable for this, all the way up the ladder. And these kinds of things are spreading. Another instance of this happened in Illinois. So I stand with these kids, and I certainly hope you do too. Marcus, you have anything you want to say, or you didn't see the video?
No, I managed to skip this one somehow, so I don't know what I could say.
All right. No, you're good, buddy. You're good. We're actually at the 49 minute mark, so we're actually doing pretty good today. One last quick video. This is very cringy, but it also brings up some good points that we need to listen to. So bye, Marcus. We'll see you in a minute. All right, here we go. This is just watch. This is cringy, but it also is. Yeah, here we go.
So if the only reason you don't want to date someone boils down to the fact that they're trans, that's transphobia right there.
So I'm just going to stop, Marcus. You've seen this one, right? We're going to go through this point by point because he says a lot. 100% I am transphobic in the classic sense of the ending phobia. See, I'm scared of what these people are trying to do, how they're going after children, and what they are doing to our society and our culture. Not wanting to date a biological male, though, is not transphobic. It's just not being homosexual. It's being straight. It's being the way that we were designed to be. So yeah, anything on that, Marcus?
This whole video just gets under my skin. I do not like this video. I don't like people.
You don't like
this.
it?
There's no brain up there.
No, there's not. There's like a void in between his ears. It's long leaked out.
I don't know what in the world happened, but no,
nothing good.
I think that I hate to say that I'm transphobic because it's like I'm, as far as the phobia goes, that I'm scared of them. I'm not scared of them in the sense of oh no,
but, they're coming.
Yeah, but I'm scared of what they'll do to our society. They'll do to our kids, and I'm scared of what they can do to the future for everybody.
Well, this is what directly leads to what we've been talking about in Canada. Aside from the Truckers' Freedom Convoy, what we talked about before that, where they absolutely just, went nuts with conversion therapy and basically laid the foundation to ban Christianity. So yeah, I'm 100% scared of that because they're going to try and bring that. So let's continue. Be back in a second, Marcus. Bye-bye. Love you.
Love you too.
So if the only reason you don't want to date someone boils down to the fact that they're trans, that's transphobia right there. Let's go over a couple of situations. So if you don't want to date a trans woman because you want kids, well, you better be keeping that same attitude with cis women who are infertile, or that's transphobia.
Okay. They tries to reason that if you don't want to date them because they can't produce kids, that you can't date women who are infertile, which has got to be the dumbest, absolute dumbest, you're back, Marcus, false equivalency that I have ever heard. Trying to compare someone with the wrong plumbing for someone who's, and I don't say this to be insincere to women who have this issue, because it's terrible, but trying to compare someone with the wrong plumbing versus someone whose plumbing isn't working correctly makes no logical sense once you think about it for more than like a second. Not wanting to date a man because you could never have kids with a man because you are a man is not transphobic. It is following clear logic. Am I right, Marcus?
100%. I don't get how you go from how you say, oh, well, you're straight, that means you date a transgender woman. Somebody used to be a man. No, I don't like men, whether they are, were, was. It don't matter. I like women, regular women.
Trans women are not women. That's it.
No.
Trans women are not women.
No.
All right.
I don't care if you chop your pecker off or not. You're still not a woman.
You're not a woman. All right. Let's keep going.
So if the only reason
world?
keeping that same attitude with cis women who are infertile, or that's transphobia. If you don't want to date a trans woman because you're not attracted to trans women, I would absolutely love to know how you're able to identify correctly who is a trans woman on site 100% of the time, because that is just impressive. I wish I had that ability. I'd love to be able to have even more trans solidarity. And
okay. So identifying a trans woman or, a man, generally they have an Adam's apple. Generally something looks wrong with them. Generally, you can just tell. You really can. But he's right by saying not all the time. Sometimes they are very good at hiding the fact that they are actually a man. But here's the thing. If you're not doing a one-night stand with them, you're going to realize they are a man before too long, and then this will not matter. Some of them are somewhat convincing, but as long as not having a one-night stand virtually eliminates this problem, right?
I'm pretty sure you start having one-night stand. I don't think it'll be too long before you figure it out then either. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're going to figure that out pretty quickly, and then,
Maybe quicker than you would if you tried to date them.
I actually have a story about this that I cannot tell on air, which sucks because it's hilarious. All right, let's finish this off. Let's see. All right.
even more trans solidarity. And then also just being super straight is the all lives matter of sexualities. It's not a real sexuality. It literally is just something that's made up to make fun of trans people and to hate on trans people. So, yes, super straights.
Oh my goodness.
I don't respect you and I don't respect that sexuality. Bye.
Okay, let's get him away because he's just, I still have to stare at him right here because he's on my main screen and I hate it. Okay, so how is being super straight, or, like liking people of the other biological sex, not a sexuality? It has literally led to the creation of 100% of the humans on Earth, including this misguided dude. All right? When you say trans people here, I think that means you, and your idiotic comments are probably what you get made fun of. And lastly, cool. I don't respect you or your sexuality either. Glad we were in agreement on something. Oh yeah, except that you wouldn't exist without my type of sexuality. So, checkmate. Try again next time. Try again next time. Final word, Marcus.
My final word on this video is, how in the world do you make up sexuality such as pansexual, asexual, whatever in the world? How do you make all this stuff up? for you to say, "Oh, well, you can't be this. This is not a real sexuality."
How do
Who
you,
do you say it?
First of all, how
Who
do you
are
say
you
that
saying?
being straight is not a sexuality, or super straight as he calls it? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you say some pretty dumb things in this video, but then you say
Oh,
super
yeah.
straight is not a sexuality. I'm like, hold on. Let's think about this here for a second. You wouldn't exist without my type of sexuality. You're whoever you date wouldn't exist without my type of sexuality. I still have to stare at this, and it's annoying. But yeah, no, it's so every word that he said here is wrong, and that is incredible. When it's so easy as saying, you know, there's a male and there's a female, and you can't switch. Every word he says here is wrong, which is just, I don't get it.
Well, the thing that gets me is how easily these people can flip the narrative. How they can talk about, oh, it's all about choice, and oh, it's all about, you know, all these different type of sexualities. But as soon as we figure out a way, you know, this isn't anything new. The super straight's been around for a while. But
Adam and Eve.
But my thing is, I'm talking about, like, you know, having to say you're super straight. That is retarded. When you say you're straight, that should automatically
just means
mean
normal.
you're super straight.
Yes, that just means normal.
There should be no reason to say super straight, but because of people like him and people that have his views, we had to come up with a term for super straight.
When you're
because
super,
for you to get it in your head, we had to come up with this. And
when
you
he
can't
says
tell
super
me you can make
straight,
this stuff up, and we can't use this against you. To abide by your rules. We made this to abide by your rules. You can't tell us we made this so it couldn't be any simpler for you. We follow your sexuality rules for you to tell us it's fake. After all
Well, to me, if someone says they're super straight, I actually start to question if they are. Okay, that's it. Before we catch one of them hot mic moments that honestly we just laugh about in a year about. Say what? Yeah. Oh man. So thank you guys for watching. Again, comment, leave some comments. Let us know how we can be better. We've only been doing this for 5 months. We're not that great at this yet. So leave a comment on how we can do better. Like the video, hit that little bell when you subscribe. You know, I'll probably come and steal something off your front porch when you hit that bell, but it will be worth it because you will see every time we post a video. Marcus, you have any goodbyes to say?
It was great doing the show again. I love being on here. I love some of the controversial topics we have. And believe it or not, I enjoy when we have small disagreements.
Yes.
Like we did in today's show, because it really helps sharpen each other.
Yes, it does.
And, you know, we're in a place where it doesn't matter. You know, we love each other enough that it's not going to affect our friendship. So it's great to be able to sharpen each other's mind and see each other's viewpoint on it. So
absolutely,
I really enjoy shows like today.
Absolutely. Remember, we have great content coming on the way. We are planning out more than just these episodes. So stay tuned for that. I cannot wait to put that out there. See you, Marcus. See you, audience. Remember, go do something that a leftist would try to cancel you for, because if you're doing that, you're probably doing something right. All right, guys.